that continue to use OpenVMS today. Let's talk specifically about one of the main topics for today's webinar, which has to do with the entire transition of OpenVMS from HP, now HPE, to VSI. So in 2013, HP announced the end of support for OpenVMS, and at that time, amongst OpenVMS users, there was a bit of a panic in terms of what's the next step, what do we need to do, what do we need to be doing. We've got to keep our data protected, our data viable and functioning in the various ways that we use our applications that are running on top of OpenVMS. A little more than 1 year later, in 2014, VSI was formed with the sole purpose of purchasing the rights to OpenVMS from HP. But let's just review what that really means and what did VMS Software purchase from HP. First of all, we bought the exclusive rights to develop new versions on OpenVMS. We bought a perpetual worldwide license. We bought the right to the OpenVMS trademark and any other marketing rights to OpenVMS. And looking forward to the future, we bought the right to release OpenVMS versions on any hardware, including the mainstream Intel x86 product, which we will talk about more a bit later on in this webinar. To continue with the chronology, in 2015, HPE ended alpha license sales, and that was also the year that VSI introduced our first upgraded integrity product, version 8.4-1H1, as well as we introduced our 4 levels of best-in-class support. In 2016, we introduced 3 additional integrity licenses, including a Japanese version, and also which includes the latest version as of the end of 2016, which is still the latest version today, version 8.4-2L1. In 2016, because of the outcry from alpha users and the encouragement of VSI partners, we introduced our version 8.4-2L1 and our alpha 8.4-2L2, the performance build, which in particular has very good performance, especially for those who wish to increase the efficiency and speed of their systems, and possibly those who are looking to go to the cloud via emulation. Our performance build product is an excellent resource to mitigate any latency. In 2018, HPE OpenVMS version 8.4 earlier was obsoleted from the HPE worldwide price list. And really the main announcement for today, or the main news I should say, is that HPE is to remove all VSI OpenVMS licenses and support part numbers from the HPE price list. In essence, what this means is that HPE will not sell any new VSI products effective after June 30, 2019. And carrying on into 2020, the HPE OpenVMS version 8.4 standard support is scheduled to end on December 31st. Let's delve a little bit deeper into the news that is coming from HPE. That is the removal of VSI OpenVMS license and support part numbers from the HPE price list. So what were the factors that led HPE to this decision? Well, number one, this follows the path that they have set forth back with their 2013 announcement to exit the OpenVMS business by 2020. All of this is a natural progression and a natural transition between HPE and VSI. At this time, HPE recognized that, quote, VSI has the execution capabilities to assure the long-term satisfaction for OpenVMS customers and partners. So I think like many customers who have already transitioned their OpenVMS business to VSI, HPE also has recognized the fact that VSI is a viable entity that thanks to our parent company, TerraCloud Corporation, and the financial backing that they provide, and the progress that we've made with new products, with professional services, with the team that is built here in Bolton, Massachusetts, outside of Boston, in the USA, as well as other offices in Malmö, Sweden, and other locations around the globe, that the time was right for HPE to make this change. HPE also has advised that within HPE, within the organization, that there are certain calls to action that should be taking place. One, that HPE sales are to redirect customer inquiries for VSI products to VSI effective June 30th. Also, that the HPE channel partners should be engaging with VSI to secure reseller arrangements for VSI products on behalf of their Open VMS customers. So, where does that leave us? What ways can Open VMS customers can purchase new VSI products and support? Well, of course, as you always have been able to do so, you can purchase VSI products directly from VSI. We're happy to work with you. Or you can go through VSI resellers or channel partners. Our objective is to make sure that the customer is satisfied and gets what they need. Not any more, not any less, but make sure they are satisfied, because our objective is to assist you to maintain your Open VMS environment and to actually begin to look forward to how it can grow based upon those significant benefits of high availability, security, gold standard documentation that you have come to know and to appreciate about Open VMS. We also recognize that there may be unique situations. There always are, aren't there? That there are unique situations in the marketplace. There may be unique situations in your circumstance which may call out a more creative or innovative solution. Again, we are driven by what the end user customer wants. That's important to us, because if we satisfy the end user, then we will satisfy the entire marketplace. What are some of the benefits of working directly with VSI or through VSI channel partners if you're not familiar with us? Probably the biggest benefit is that you receive rights to new versions when you purchase VSI upgraded licenses with VSI support, either from VSI or through a VSI partner. You receive rights to automatic upgrades, and you receive future license upgrades at no cost. This includes the upcoming version 9.2, major releases on Alpha, Integrity, and x86 products. I think the other benefit, which is only natural to say, but we'll say it anyway, is that it's important for many customers that they know that they are dealing directly or very close to dealing directly through partners with the organization that is leading this platform forward. So whether it's with the benefits that you gain from working with our worldwide support team, the professional services team that we have assembled and put together, or VSI training. We look forward to working with you in providing those products and services and support that allow you to maximize the benefits of your Open VMS environment. Who is VMS Software? As I mentioned earlier, we are part of TerraCloud Corporation, a European corporation. We are headquartered in Bolton, Massachusetts, about 15 minutes away from the original DEC headquarters. And we have approximately 90 employees. I would say in giving presentations last November at various European venues, I think the number was closer to 75 or something like that. So we are adding employees. We have added recently about 10 new developers and engineers who are working on new products. The majority of those individuals are being added to our x86 team. And as mentioned earlier, we have offices in Malmö, Sweden, headed up by Brett Cameron, and we have other locations as well throughout Europe, and North America. Again, as the exclusive developer of OpenVMS, it is only VSI that can offer you benefits, such as the rights to new versions. Our strategy is very simple. We want to be an OpenVMS clearinghouse. Any requirements, any questions, any issues that you may have that addresses ways to improve your OpenVMS environment, to keep it going, to build on it, we want to be the company, and we are the company, that can offer you those solutions. Whether it's licenses and support, or professional services, or training, or through partners working on cloud solutions that would be available to you today and in the future. Our support offerings that I mentioned earlier, we have 4 support programs from our Platinum level, our highest level, which allows for a technical account manager to be assigned, along with quarterly software patch analysis and health checks, and with immediate response time in terms of cases being raised or questions being raised, whether on the phone or through email. And our gold level, which is a slight notch down, with 1-hour turnaround, and again, an initial patch analysis and health system check, and with a technical account manager assigned, to silver and to bronze, or to use the HPE nomenclature, NBD, or next business day. As mentioned, we have various types of professional services, in particular a very strong team in Europe where installation and migration services can be held, managed services, remote monitoring, application modernization. And as mentioned, we have training courses, both on-site, remote, here in Bolton, Massachusetts. And we're also going to be coming on stream very, very soon. We'll have an announcement, I'm sure, within the next couple of weeks for our new online training system and training programs. So if I were a customer and giving consideration to evaluating who is VMS Software, should we do business with them, I think it's an appropriate question to ask, how are we doing? Well, again, as mentioned, we are backed by TerraCloud Corporation and their vast resources, which has allowed us to hire the engineering team and the developers that we need to develop these new products, and in particular to work on x86. Fortunately, thanks to many of you customers, in both 2017 and 2018, our booked orders increased at least by 2x, or they doubled each year compared to the previous year. In other words, we're growing. As the transition from HPE to VSI accelerates, fortunately, we're the beneficiary of that, and we are growing our business nicely. In fact, to the point where we are projecting a positive EBITDA, a financial tool that's really an operational financial tool. It talks about earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation, etc. To give you some insight there, when we first formed in 2014, and then 2015, 2016, 2017, 2018, fundamentally from an operational profitability standpoint, because of the number of engineers we hired to develop these new products, we were working at a loss. But thanks to good customers like you and terrific partners working with us, and because of the sales growth that we've experienced in the last 2 years, we are projecting for this year a positive EBITDA. Now, that's good for our shareholders at TerraCloud Corporation, but it's also good for customers. It's good for customers because it will continue to allow us to add VSI resources in engineering. As I just mentioned, 10 or so have been added recently. Add to our professional services team, and also add to our sales team. For example, Ray Turner is someone based out of London, as I mentioned earlier, and he joined us November 1st. And with Ray's background with HPE of 30 some odd years and his experience with OpenVMS, we are delighted to have him as part of the team. Let's talk about the roadmap for a couple of minutes. This is the latest roadmap. We'll first talk about the Integrity products. You will notice a couple of differences here, but let me talk about the thing that we have not included in this slide, and that is version 8.5. Last fall, we made a decision to forego the introduction of version 8.5. Version 8.5 was designed to be a minor version upgrade to have a few new components in that product. And what we decided to do, rather than have too much focus on that, we decided basically to take our current 8.4-201 and add those components into 8.4-201 through various patch kits and other supplements. In fact, to the point where we have now packs that are available for 8.4-201 that people can get that are assembled in such a way that it makes the installation much simpler and easier. There are approximately 30 different components involved in that. We did that also because of the distractions sometimes that may cause organizations internally talking about new releases. As well as for customers. We recognize that customers, by mandate, may have to perform testing on any new software upgrades. And we didn't want to have you have to go through that. So for all of those reasons, we've increased the performance, increased the capabilities of version 8.4-201, and focused all of our energies on x86. So going back to the roadmap that you see here, our 8.4-1H1 support has been extended now, standard support has been extended through 2022, after which you can purchase prior version support without sustained engineering, or you can also purchase a contract for extended engineering support, EES, where you do get engineering support. Our 8.4-2 has been extended by about a year into 2021. Another significant change is the 8.4-201, the most recent and the current version, the latest version, which now has been extended through 2024. Again, with PVS or EES available beginning January 1, 2025. For our x86 products, which we'll go into a little bit more detail in a moment, you can see our 9.2, which is the production product, being released approximately at the end of 2020, and at this point, standard support going through 2026, if not beyond. 9.x, whether it's 9.3, 9.4, will be out about a year later on integrity, as well as on x86. The reason why these two are so closely aligned is because much of the code that is written for x86 is based on the integrity platform. For alpha users, we've also extended our standard support all the way through 2026, both on 8.4-201 and 8.4-202. Again, when we introduced version 9.2, we will also introduce a alpha version 9.2, and that will also be extended through 2026. One of the main reasons for this is because we recognize the fact that many government agencies around the world, whether national, regional, or local, remain on alpha systems, and sometimes those governmental agencies cannot react as quickly, and for various reasons, security as well as other governmental changes that need to occur, it's important that they be allotted the time to make the transitions properly. So we wanted to give them that time. So therefore, the standard support being extended through 2026. Just a couple of comments regarding the x86 roadmap. We are presently in what I would almost call a pre-version 9.2 EAK, Early Adopters Kit. We have released the cross tools, some of the cross tools that are available with our x86 product to a very small number of partners at this point. And we see that as this calendar year continues to progress, and as we continue to add additional components to the x86 EAK, that will become available to other partners as well as customers. who have completed questionnaires to apply for the early adopter kit. The early adopter kit is something that with a request to VSI, myself, Ray Turner, or just go to our website at sales@vmssoftware.com or info@vmssoftware.com, which will show you how you can make a request to get on the list as well. We can send you a questionnaire. Towards the end of this year, there will be a general EAK release. Again, having worked on x86 and going beyond the cross tools, going into some of the other components, compilers, etc., that will become available. And that general EAK is scheduled for the end of this year or very early in 2020 to give all customers, partners, ISVs the chance to, if you will, kick the tires on version 9.1. Our version 9.2 production release for both Itanium and x86 is scheduled for the end of 2020. There'll be a lot of work put in during that 12-month period to make sure it's ready. And also the Alpha 9.2 will be available probably at the beginning of Q2 of 2021. We also recognize the fact that virtualization is very important to many OpenVMS customers, which is why we have engaged with these companies so far, KVM, Xen, Oracle's VirtualBox, who we are quite far a ways down the road on, and we've been initially engaged with VMware as well. So we recognize that virtualization is very important here to users. So to talk about new products, I'd like to turn some time over to Ray Turner. Ray, can you hear me okay?
I can hear you fine, Terry. Are you able to hear myself?
Yes, very good. Thank you, Ray. So please, why don't you go ahead?
Okay. Thank you, Terry, and good day to everyone on the call, and thank you for taking the time to join us. What I would like to do is just spend a few minutes talking about some of the new products. You may have heard of some of these before. Some of them are actually fairly new to us at VSI, and so we're excited to get the opportunity to talk to you about this. So the first product that I'd like to mention is the VSI TCP/IP product. As I'm sure you're all aware, the previous product, TCP/IP Services for OpenVMS, is a somewhat aged product and has got a few areas which require some attention. So a decision had to be made around what we would do going forward in order to meet modern standards and deliver better performance for customers using TCP/IP on OpenVMS. One thing we could have done is look towards modifying and enhancing the existing product. However, that would have been a large engineering undertaking, and we want all of our developers as much as possible to be concentrating as much of their efforts as they can towards the x86 versions. We could also have looked at bringing across onto OpenVMS a TCP/IP product from the open source community. However, the drawback of doing this would be that we would have required multiple releases in order to be able to provide you with full functionality, and that would have meant that we would have had to delay the time to market and our ability to deliver a new stack. The third option we had was we could take an existing product that runs on OpenVMS and enhance it to fulfill the requirements we have and make that available to you. The benefits of doing this were that it would require less initial engineering effort, and we would also be able to release it quicker and in a single phase. And that's the direction that we chose to go. So we are actually, we have this available as an EAK today. It is based on the multi-net stack from Process Software, but it's actually enhanced and adapted to what we require it to do. So it is available, as I've mentioned, on request today for VSI OpenVMS Integrity version 8.4-2L1, and it will be made available for VSI OpenVMS Alpha 8.4.2L1 and 8.4.2L2 later this year. Moving forward, it will actually become the integrated TCP/IP stack. So at the moment, you can have either the previous TCP/IP services or VSI TCP/IP, but going forward, it will become the integrated stack for VSI OpenVMS. And as noted at the bottom of the slide, for x86, so 9.2 on x86, this will be the only stack that's available. Terry, can you just move forward a slide? Thank you very much. So what it is a new product from VSI. It's licensed as part of the OE licenses, so as part of either the BOE or the HAOE includes the license to use the new stack, and it's installed with via PCSI. So it's not a VMS install kit; it's actually a PCSI kit that's installed with install product. It does coexist with the existing product or with other products. For example, if you're already using Multinet or another TCP/IP stack, it will coexist. However, you can only use one stack at a time. So although it coexists, you cannot run multiple TCP/IP stacks at any point in time. And unfortunately, at the moment, whilst it's easy and we provide you with a tool to simplify moving between the stacks, you are required to reboot the node in order to do so at the moment. Okay. I've mentioned already that it is at the moment an EAK. The production release, which will be 10.6, is expected in the Q3 calendar timeframe this year. So approximately, if we say a little under sort of 6 months away, that puts us into Q3. The benefits of the new stack, quite aside from the engineering work that our engineers have done and that process engineers had done previously, is that it is much more up to date with the standards that it implements. More and more companies are focusing on security at the moment, which is a point that OpenVMS has always been particularly strong in. And using the new stack enables us to modernize the standards that we are compliant with much more rapidly than we could do by trying to achieve it in any other way. It will also provide us with the ability for some future enhancements, for example, two-factor authentication and onboard checksum offloading. So these are standards. They're not there yet, but it will enable us to deliver these in the future without having to do major rewrites of the stack. So that's one of the products. Like I say, TCP/IP, we have spoken about it with you before, but it's just a reminder of where we're going. The next piece that I would like to introduce you to is some enhancements towards password management. The requirement for these, and again, it's related to security for customer systems, is that OpenVMS password management, as was, did not allow easy implementation of some customers' password requirements. So out of the box, we had a number of customers who required password checks that we weren't able to satisfy automatically. So this is an enabler that allows you to meet a more stringent password requirement, but it does not force you to do so. So it is an ability to enhance the passwords, but it doesn't force you to enhance those passwords, okay, unless your policy requires that. So for existing users, you may not have to make any changes at all. If you do have a more stringent password policy, this will allow you to meet it automatically. So within that, you can dictate the number of uppercase, the number of special characters, or the number of numerical characters in a password, and also the amount that has to be changed with each password change request. So the classic one, for example, would be just adding a number after your existing password, or incrementing a number, and this will allow you to spot that and either accept it or reject it depending upon your policies. It is going to be integrated into OpenVMS releases in the future, but for now it will be provided as a patch kit, which is going to be available shortly. So that's some enhancements that we're making to OpenVMS security. The next product I would like to mention is a performance management product called PerfDat. Again, you may have been aware of this product as it used to belong to HPE. However, it was acquired by VSI earlier this year and is part of our strategy, as Terry outlined earlier, to become an OpenVMS clearinghouse, a one-stop shop for all of your OpenVMS needs. So this allows a very detailed analysis in either real time or after the event of your performance of your systems, and it will also allow you to model future performance. So if you want to see where your systems may become stressed in the future, it will allow you to model those scenarios such that you can predict at what point, given certain parameters, your systems will begin to struggle. And it will also allow you to see the effects of tuning exercises or tuning enhancements that you may carry out on your systems. It's available as two delivery methods. The first one is as a standalone product. So you may purchase this as a standalone product, similar to other layered products from VSI, or we are also offering it as part of a professional services engagement where you may require or request us to do some performance tuning or some performance monitoring or some performance predictions for you. And our professional services consultants will use this tool as part of that engagement in order to demonstrate either your current performance or your future performance. It's Terry, if we can just move on a slide, please. It will also allow you to set a baseline performance. So when your system is brand new and shiny out of the box, you can use this tool to set a baseline performance of that system, and then you can see the effects potentially of work that is done in your own applications and how that reflects through the system. So it's a very, very powerful tool. It is specific to OpenVMS, and we see a large potential benefit to both existing and our new customers in adopting this tool going forward. So that's the second product I would like to mention. Sorry, the third enhancement, the second product. The final product that I would just like to mention for a few minutes is service control. And again, this is a recent introduction to VSI. It provides the ability to enhance, manage, monitor, and adapt non-cluster aware applications that are running on a Open VMS cluster. So using this product, it will allow you to group a set of resources that are required for your application or service and monitor whether all of those resources or all of those resources are available on a particular node. If one of them stops or fails, it can alert you to that failure. It can also either manually or automatically restart that resource on the existing machine, or should you prefer, to move that entire service onto another node within the cluster. So again, it's a way of enhancing application availability for a single node application when used across or when deployed on an Open VMS cluster. And again, we see a lot of customers who have applications that are not cluster aware, and this will allow you to enhance both your monitoring of that application and potentially the availability of that application to your users by running it in a cluster without having to make application changes to make the application itself cluster aware. This is supported. It is a VSI product. We do support this at the moment on multiple versions of Open VMS, not just VSI's version, but also HPE EVA's version. And so if you are interested in deploying this in your environment, please contact Terry, myself, or Janice, and we will be very pleased to speak with you further about it. So I hope that's given you a flavor of some of the additional work and applications that we've been working on at VSI above the base operating system itself. And with that, I would like to return the call back to Terry for closing comments and questions and answers.
Thank you very much, Ray. Excellent job. So this ends the formal presentation part of the webinar, but we would, as mentioned earlier, like to open things up for questions through the chat box that is available to you. And let's see, we're just going to go through quickly and see if there were some questions. I know there were a few questions already being asked. Let's see, we scroll through here. Well, I know that one question had to do with, well, speaking of PerfDat, one question from Andrew was, can the tool be used to benchmark earlier HPE OpenVMS releases and model the refresh of new releases? And Ray, do you want to comment on that? Or
PerfDat is supported on earlier versions of OpenVMS. I would need to check with the engineers as to whether it can model an earlier version on let's say an older platform against our version on the latest platform. I would need to check with our engineers.
Yeah, I think that's an appropriate answer. We don't want to state something that's incorrect, obviously.
Yep.
But we'll leave it at that, and we will get back to you, Andrew. Also, a question from Rolf. Will VSI still provide licenses for older versions of OpenVMS for Alpha or VAX? So the answer to that is, for VAX systems, we have never offered VAX licenses. We have no intention on doing that. But certainly for Alpha, as has been commented, between our current versions 8.4-2L1 and -2L2 and our scheduled release of version 9.2 in Q2 of 2020? The answer very simply is yes. Yes, we do. There's a question about can you get a recording of this session? Yes. We're actually conducting 3 webinars today designed to be time zone sensitive. So EMEA, North and South America, the Americas, and then the Far East, APAC, and Australia. So once those are concluded, all of these will be recorded on and up on the VMS software website, I would anticipate by the end of this week. There's a question from Martin. Is there any progress on the SIFS product?
Terry, my understanding is that we are, I believe, in a field test at the moment. I would need to check with the prime developer, but I believe we actually have a field test out available almost as we speak.
Yes. Yes, that's correct.
If the question is around when will it exit field test and move to general release, I would need to check.
Right. I would imagine someone like Brett Cameron can probably give us a little more insight on that. From Brian, has VSI reached out to the educational community to get college students introduced to OpenVMS? Great question, Brian, and one that, to be honest with you, we've struggled with. Not because we don't want to do this, we do. We presently have a college licensing program. It's really more designed for the business operations for colleges and universities. However, we're looking at ways of how we can tie that same program into ensuring that college students, younger students, younger individuals, or even mature individuals who have lots of experience with OpenVMS can continue their education on OpenVMS through an educational program. So we've been saying this for a while, but I think, again, because we're in a better position to take a look at some of these programs, please look for something a bit more formal to come out later this year in 2019. We have a question from John. As long as you have collected the performance data on an older system, you can use this to compare to performance data collected on a newer system. That's John, who knows a lot about PerfDat, so I think he's answered that question I believe it was for Andrew. Let's see, from Rainier. HP support for Itanium 8.4 ends on 12/31/2020, so no new contract with HPE can be made after that date, isn't it? Well, we don't want to speak for HPE. However, according to their roadmap, that is certainly what's being indicated. That once 12/31 occurs, that's it. That's going to be the end of standard support for the 8.4 version. I would imagine that you can get some additional support, probably which does not include engineering support, patch kits, etc., cases to be raised to an L3 level. But yes, that's our belief.
Terry, I'm not sure if I'm seeing all of the questions or whether people are posting questions directly to me, because I have a number of questions that I can see which haven't been answered yet.
Okay, Ray, go ahead. Yes, some are to all panelists and some are privacy. So go ahead, Ray.
Okay, apologies. I'll jump through some of my. We have a question about continued OS support for the legacy 2660 and 3600. If I understand the question correctly, I think you are asking whether we plan to continue supporting 842.1, for example, on those hardware platforms for the duration of our support roadmap. And to answer that question, the answer will be yes. However, we aren't or don't support hardware support. So we will continue to support the platforms that we have announced in our quick specs and documentation for the duration of support for that version. So hopefully that answers your question. Ian has asked about news around the Ada compiler. Ian, we are very aware of the need for Ada, particularly for certain market segments, and we will, or we are working on a solution in that area, and I will provide more information as soon as we have it available. Further question, follow-up from Ian. Can VSI provide support services for HPE versions of OpenVMS? Terry, would you like to take that question, or shall I?
No, I can address that. The answer is yes, we can. However, we cannot provide engineering level support for version 8.4 or prior. We can provide L1 and L2, and have done so for different customers to date.
A further question I've got, and I think it's a follow-up to your answer around Alpha and VAX, Terry, is I think it's a follow-up. It says, and HPE licenses for VMS. And I think the question, if I interpret it correctly, is can we VSI provide licenses for HP versions of OpenVMS? And the answer to that question, unfortunately, I'm afraid, is no. VSI cannot provide licenses for HPE versions of OpenVMS. They still belong to HPE. So we can, as Terry said, provide non-engineering support for the versions, but we can't provide licenses.
Let me just add a comment to that. Thank you, Ray. So again, this entire transition between HPE and VSI is just that. It's been a transition going back to 2014 when VSI purchased the rights to OpenVMS from HP at the time. So, many things are still subject to change in that further transference of additional capabilities from HPE to VSI is definitely not out of the question. Much of it depends upon the timing for some of these things. Just as one of the main topics for today, the news that HPE is ending sales of VSI products because of the reasons that have been mentioned, effective June 30th of this year, there may be other transitional announcements or transitional news to come on other fronts as well, as VSI looks to fully carry the flag bearer, be the flag bearer for everything OpenVMS. Ray, do you have some more questions there?
There is a request. I'll be honest, there's a couple of questions about TCP/IP, and Terry, I think there's been a few questions on TCP/IP, and I wonder if that might be an idea for a future webinar. I don't think we've got time to answer them all in today's, and I will also be honest, some of them are slightly more in depth probably than you or I would feel comfortable with. There is a question about comparing service control with Eddie's NCafe freeware offering. And I think, Terry, if I may, we'll take that question offline because I know Eddie will be joining for one of the further calls because I'm not familiar with the work he did on NCafe. Right.
Yes, that's correct. So I would suggest for the TCP/IP questions, we should have the ability to get back to those individuals specifically to make sure we answer their questions. We can get the advisement from members of our engineering team or Eddie Orcutt. And the same holds true with the last point that you raised, Ray, about something specific to work that Eddie Orcutt has done in the past.
Okay. Further question, which I would like to use, if you don't mind, Terry, as a plug for some upcoming events. A question has come in about our Oracle and us working together to move or bring newer versions of the Oracle database onto OpenVMS. And I'll let you answer the question, Terry, but I would just put in a slight mention that on the 10th of May, we will be hosting an event in London, United Kingdom, in conjunction with Oracle, where Kevin Duffy will be talking about the latest work that they're doing at Oracle. So, Terry, did you want to just answer?
Yeah, let me address the broader question again. Oracle and VSI have had a very good relationship, both from a business standpoint and especially from an engineering standpoint, since VSI's inception in 2014. Many of you know that we did joint events in Europe and in North America. Europe was last fall in November, and North America was in late January, which, by the way, is a great time to travel around parts of the United States in late January when it's quite cold out. But their position on some of the new VSI products, such as x86, has not changed. Certainly, and again, I don't want to speak for Oracle, but I believe their intentions are to continue to work with VSI, both from an engineering and business standpoint. They are one of the partners who have received the pre-version 9.0 cross tools, and they have begun to work with them. But as of yet, we have not received any feedback that I'm aware of regarding that. But again, Oracle's been a valued partner, and we hope that relationship and that partnership continues in the future. Question from Mark: will the Polycenter products sold to CA be ported to x86? I don't know the answer to that question, Mark, but we will get that to you. Unless, Ray, do you happen to know?
I don't, to be honest, Terry.
Okay. We will get you the answer to that question, Mark.
A couple of further questions, Terry, that have come in on my queue. When configuring HPE servers and hardware, how can I confirm that components are tested and supported with VSI OpenVMS? We do have information on our website regarding the hardware components that we have tested. And I know that Eddie works hard, as keeping it up to date is always an ongoing challenge, but I know Eddie works hard to update that list as and when new hardware is qualified. So if you go to, and apologies, I don't have a page open, but I believe if you go under resources, quick specs, and then I think it's down there under the hardware supported list or something similar. So that information is on our website. And finally, on my list, if I can just, where can someone find patches for OpenVMS? And I'm assuming it's, OpenVMS Integrity 84-2, and I will assume that you mean 842 and 842L1. And Terry, are you happy to answer that question, or shall I take it?
No, go ahead. That's fine.
Okay. So customers that have a support agreement with ourselves will be sent download information, and obviously it will have the ability to download. Customers that currently have our version of OpenVMS but have their support agreement through HP need to go to HP to download those patches. as that's who their support agreement is with, which is, as Terry mentioned, again, one of the reasons for transitioning directly across to VSI, because you will get it directly from us. However, the patches, as per current industry standard, are retained in a secured area, so they're not available on publicly available websites. Okay. I think, Terry, that's most of mine.
Okay. Another question is coming from, I believe it's Karthik. Apologies if I'm mispronouncing. Is VMS software concentrating on only developing and engineering support for OpenVMS? Any plan for taking over hardware support and system support? Well, the simple answer is no. We don't have plans to take over hardware support and system support. There are partners that we do work with or are familiar with on the hardware side. So if customers find themselves in a situation where they're concerned about the hardware support, or if they just want other resources, we do have companies that we can suggest that they take a look at. But in terms of VSI specifically becoming involved in the hardware support business, no, that's not of interest to us. Obviously, anything having to do with OpenVMS, new products, support packages for those products, professional services, training, etc. We're very interested. That is our business. Ray, did you say you have another question?
A whole load of new ones have come in while we've been speaking,
yeah,
Terry.
Okay, good.
Question, are there any plans to upgrade the Alpha server firmware if needed for VSI OpenVMS? I would defer that to our engineers. However, my belief would be we aren't Alpha server engineering. We are VMS engineering. So I will confirm with our engineers, but I would not expect them to want to go into Alpha server firmware. And a quick question about whether we are continuing to expand, given the news, obviously, that HPE are retiring or removing VSI OpenVMS from the price book. And Terry, I'll defer that one to you, if I may.
So what was the first part of the question?
Sorry, are we planning to expand our resources in professional services and sales in the US, Europe, and Asia Pacific?
Simple answer is yes. We, as noted, obviously Ray is on this call now. We've added another person here in the US. We have plans to continue to expand our sales team. We have plans to continue and to broaden our professional services team, both which is nicely established in Europe, but also here in North America. And we are currently in talks in the Asia, I should say Australia as well, but also we are continuing and beginning some discussions with companies and individuals in the APAC countries as well. So yes, we are definitely planning on expanding. Those things have been approved by our board, so we're moving in those directions as well. And again, the most important part is the engineering and development work of the products of the professional services teams themselves.
One thing, Terry, I'd like to, and because a comment has come in on chat, which I should have made clear, and I apologize for not doing so, about the firmware question. The VSI versions of Alpha and VMS do work with the current Alpha server firmware versions. I should have made that clear at the start of my answer, and I didn't, and a comment was made on chat from Hans, so thank you, Hans, and my apologies for not bringing that to the attention, that in fact with today's versions it works fine.
Great. Are there any other questions for today's for this particular webinar? I
think, Terry, there are some other questions. I think given the time, probably we will post results as soon as we can.
Okay. All right. Well, again, first of all, again, to all the participants, Ray and I would both like to express our thanks for your participation in hearing some of the recent news that we've reviewed with you. If there are questions on any of these issues or things that maybe as soon as this webinar ends that you'd like to raise, please feel free to contact either one of us, or go to some of the other means that you can contact us, which I'm trying to click over to now. There we go. Which is by either going to info@vmssoftware.com, or if you're so inclined in North America, or anywhere else for that matter, call us directly, or go to our website. We look forward to continuing with a series of webinars, especially this year as we get more information, more updates on the x86 product, as we continue to introduce more services, and to provide additional news about the transition happenings between HPE and VSI. We thank you very much for your listening and participation and your business. It's much appreciated. Thank you, and have a great rest of your day. And now we'll be over. Take care.